This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good morning everyone. Shalom Aleichem. We're continuing in Mishna Berura Daf Hashavua. Let's start again from the beginning of Sif Lamed Vav. Today's supposed to be a double header, but it's a very short page, so it should be like regular time. Let's read again Sif Lamed Vav. We read Mishna Berura Sif Katan Kufnon Hein Kufnon Vav yesterday. Yasa kol Parshios psuchais chutz mi Parsha achrein haksuva b'Torah. You should write every Parsha, especially in the Tefillin Shel Yad, because in Tefillin Shel Yad it's all one klaf. So therefore, you should write all the Parshios pesuchais, except for the Parsha Achreina. L'maisa, the Mishna Berura said the minhag is l'chadchila to be makbid to write the Shel Rosh pesuchais as well. Now this is very important. I venture to say most people don't know what Parsha Psucha means. Parsha Psucha does not mean there's a space before the Parsha. Adarabba. Parsha Psucha means the Parsha starts at the beginning of a column. The space then is in the previous column. In other words, what we learned yesterday is that the four Parshios of Tefillin, namely Kadesh, Vayikviyacha, Shema, V'hayim Shamaya, Kadesh should start in the beginning of a column. There is no space before. The reason there's no space before is no space is necessary to enable it to be the beginning of the column. V'haya kiviyacha also should be psucha. Psucha means, like over here, the beginning of a column. The way it's psucha is that there's space before at the end of the previous column. The same with Shema. Shema is a parsha psucha, and therefore it starts in the beginning of the column, and there's space at the end of the column before. However, v'haya im shamaya is susuma, not like here. This is incorrect. This is wrong. This is not kosher. This has to have the space in the beginning, and then v'hayim shamaya begins in the middle of the line. So the definition of psucha does not mean space and then start. Adarabba. Psucha means it starts in the beginning of the column. In order to facilitate that, the space is on the end of the previous line. Okay. So the Mechaber said, except for the last Parsha, Haksuva B'Torah, which is Shema, Shahaya V'Hayim Shamaya, Sheya'asena Susuma. It should be a Parsha Susuma. V'im Shina Pasal. If you deviate it, it's Pasal. Says the Mishna Berura Siv Katan Kuftan Zayin V'im Shina, Bein Sha'asam Mistuma Psucha, Ayim Psucha Stuma. Either way, if you change from Susuma to Psucha or vice versa, it's Pasal. So for example, if you made V'haya im Shamaya, here, let's see if we could do this. If you made this Pesucha, it's Pasal. The reason why this is Psucha is it starts in the beginning of the column. This is Pasal Tefillin. Do not take a picture of this, print it out, roll it up, and put it into your Tefillin. It will be Pasal if you do that, because this is not a Parsha Pesucha. That should be Susuma. Or, if you make this Parsha Susuma, this is Susuma, you say, what? That's Susuma? There's a space, right? Like I'm telling you, it's the opposite of what you would have thought. Susuma means that there's a space. That's exactly what Susuma means. There's a space, and therefore it begins in the beginning of in the middle of the column, as opposed to Psucha means it begins in the beginning of the column. Okay, now the Ramah says v'yesh machshirim b'chulan psuchais. Some are machshir if they're all pesuchais, if they're all open. Some are machmir if they're all open. Who is that? Maharam Padva, Siman Pei Zayin b'shem Orchas Chaim u'Beis Yosef b'shem Ho'iter. Fine. Says the Mishna Berura v'yesh machshirim ratzolam b'di'eved. It's not lechatchila b'di'eved. The taimam sha'av she'b'Torah parsha v'hayim shamay hi susuma. Even though the way v'hayim shamay is written in the Torah is a parsha susuma, mikamakam kiven she'b'Torah eina smucha klal leparsha shema. Since in the Torah it's not close at all to Shema, ein ze nechshav shinoi ma sheharevach shebeina leparshas Shema hu pasuach v'lo sasam k'may shesasam harevach shel fanei b'Torah. Since anyway, V'hayim Shemaya is not directly after Shema, it's not considered deviating if you leave a space between Shema and Vahaya in a way where it's pasuach and not sasum, the way it's sasum in the Torah. Kivan shegam b'Torah yesh beina leparsha Shema sheb'Torah revach harbe pasuach. There are many psuchas. In other words, even though in the Torah Vahayim Shemaya is sasuma, meaning it begins in the middle of the line, so how could this be kosher with a parsha psucha in between? This is a psucha. The answer is because in the Torah, between Shema and Vahayim Shemaya, there'll be many pesuchais because they're not right after each other in the Torah. V'chein hiskimu ha'achronim, that lemaisa we're not machmer if Vahayim Shemaya is not sasuma but is psucha. And then the Rama adds, "Uv'medinois elu noegim af parshas Vahayim Shemaya b'roish hashita kishar ha-Parshios." First, he says there are those who are machshir b'di'eved, even if Vahayim Shemaya is pesuchais. Now he's saying the minig is l'chadchila to make Vahayim Shemaya pesuchais, like shar Parshios. Says the Mishna Berura, "B'chulam pesuchos l'hepach im asa eza parsha me'ashosh parsha sesuma." L'kulayama pasol ken kasav achrayim. If you made any of these parshios sesuma, it is pasol. Let's see. If you made any of these sesuma, it's going to be pasol. Oid kasu, the achrayim write further. Dedavkim asal parshas v'haya im shamaya parsha pesucha kasher l'deyazu. It's dafka if you made it a parsha pesucha, it's kasher. Avlam ein lefanei revach klal bein a parsha shema loy bedav shalav v'loy bedav shal parsha shema dahainu shizcha oisa b'ro shito el yoyna shabadav v'loy hineach revach klal lefanei ba'oisa shita v'loy b'soiv shita shal parsha shema. Meaning like this. Really, this is supposed to be a parsha sesuma, which means you leave space here. B'di'eved, if you made it psucha, that means if there's space here, it's good. But what if you, like in diagram 3, it starts in the beginning of the column, but there's no space at the end of Shema, so there's no space anywhere. So it's mamish, a cramped parsha. So there's psucha, there's sesuma, and then there's something called a cramped parsha. If you made Vahayim Shemaya a cramped parsha, it is pasal. It is going to be pasal kulayama. Oy shiniach revach, or if let's say you left space for ein by kishir revach shebein parsha leparsha, but it's not enough space that there is between one parsha and another. Dahainu kidei lichtov tes oisiyos. Hare ze nechshav shinoi gamor. That is an outright shinoi. Mimashi ksuva b'Torah, from what it's written in the Torah. Upasol l'kuleyama afilu b'parshazu. It's pasal according to everyone, even in the final parsha. Uvesoif parshas v'haya im shamaya ein sarach laniach shum revach. The end of v'haya im shamaya, you don't have to leave any space. It could end at the end of a line. V'chein noigim l'saim al ha'oretz b'soif shito ha'tachtoina. The minhag is to end off al ha'oretz at the end of the last line. Okay, that we're gonna break it up, and we'll have a short one just to finish the week. Okay.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.